The first stone was not thrown by a hand. It was thrown by a whisper. It happened in broad daylight, in the middle of a crowded street, when Amara stepped out of a bus and felt the sudden shift in the air. Conversations dipped. Eyes lingered too long. A woman pulled her husband closer, not subtly, as if Amara's presence alone was a threat. A man stared, then looked away quickly, ashamed and curious at the same time. Amara adjusted the strap of her bag and kept walking, unaware that something invisible had already been placed on her back. A mark she did not choose. A sentence she did not earn. She had always been noticed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but inevitably. Her beauty was not crafted or performed. It existed quietly, the kind that drew attention without asking for it. The kind that made people uncomfortable because it could not be explained away as effort. She did not dress to be seen. She dressed to live her life. But the world around her had already decided what her presence meant. That morning, a woman near the bus stop leaned toward another and said it softly, almost kindly, "That's her." No name followed. None was needed. By evening, the whisper had found its rhythm. Amara lived alone in a modest apartment, worked a simple job, and spoke little about herself. She was polite, reserved, careful. She had learned early that attention, even positive attention, often carried a cost. Still, she believed that if she did no harm would come to her. It was a belief she would slowly unlearn. The first rumor was harmless enough, almost flattering. Someone said she enjoyed the attention of married men. Someone else said she smiled too freely. Another claimed she liked being admired. Each version changed slightly, growing more confident with every retelling. No one asked her. No one thought to. She noticed the change before she understood it. People who once greeted her now hesitated. Conversations stopped when she entered rooms. Invitations disappeared. Compliments turned into glances sharp with judgment. She replayed her actions in her mind, searching for a mistake she could fix. She found none. At work, the tension thickened. A colleague avoided sitting near her. Another spoke to her only through others. A supervisor watched her more closely than before, his concern masked his professionalism. Amara felt herself shrinking, becoming careful with every word, every movement. She laughed less. She looked down more. And still, it wasn't enough. The whispers evolved into statements. Statements hardened into beliefs. Beliefs demanded proof. And proof, when it could not be found, was invented. A woman named Lydia became the voice people trusted. Lydia was respected, admired, steady. She spoke calmly, with concern rather than anger, and that made her dangerous. She never accused Amara directly. She simply shared observations. She said she had noticed how men behaved around Amara. She wondered aloud whether temptation should be welcomed so openly. She framed jealousy as moral responsibility. People listened. Lydia had once been friendly with Amara. They had shared conversations, small laughs, ordinary moments. But something had shifted quietly. Lydia's husband had looked at Amara once too long. Lydia had noticed, and in that moment, fear dressed itself as righteousness. The rumors sharpened. Amara was accused of manipulation, of seduction, of intention. Her silence was taken as confirmation. Her calm was seen as arrogance. Every denial she considered making felt like it would only feed the fire. So she said nothing, hoping the storm would pass. It did not. The isolation settled in like a heavy fog. Amara began altering herself in small ways. She wore looser clothes. She avoided eye contact. She stopped attending social gatherings entirely. She became smaller, quieter, less visible. She stood in front of mirrors and searched for the thing everyone else seemed to see as a weapon.
The thing everyone else seemed to see as a weapon. She wondered when it had become something she needed to apologize for. Loneliness has a sound. It is not loud. It hums. It fills empty rooms. It echoes in conversations that never happen. Amara felt it constantly. One afternoon, the whisper became a public accusation. It happened at a community gathering, the kind meant to bring people together. Lydia spoke. Her voice was calm, controlled, filled with concern. She did not say Amara's name at first. She spoke about morality, about boundaries, about protecting families. Then she said it. Some people, she said, know exactly what they're doing. All eyes turned. Amara felt the heat rise in her face. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She stood frozen as Lydia's words wrapped themselves in implication. Nothing direct, nothing legally dangerous, just enough to destroy. The silence afterward was worse than shouting. Amara left before anyone could stop her. She walked home with her head down, her chest tight, her hands shaking. That night, she cried not loudly, but deeply. The kind of crying that empties you. The kind that asks questions with no answers. The following days were brutal. People avoided her openly now. Some looked at her with disgust. Others with pity. A few with curiosity sharpened into cruelty. Her name had become a warning. And then came the betrayal. Someone Amara trusted shared a private conversation. A harmless exchange twisted into evidence. Words stripped of context, handed to the wrong ears. Lydia presented them as confirmation of what she had always suspected. The crowd accepted it eagerly. Proof, even false proof, feels comforting to those who want to believe. Amara was summoned, questioned, examined. Not by law, but by opinion. There was no defense, no rules, no fairness. Only judgment. She stood alone while people spoke about her as if she were not present. As if she were an idea, not a person. As if her feelings were irrelevant to the story they were enjoying telling. She did not scream. She did not beg. She did not collapse. That restraint angered them even more. Days later, the truth began to crack through the lies, not because people sought it, but because Lydia grew careless. A contradiction surfaced. A detail didn't align. A witness hesitated, then spoke. Someone produced messages Lydia had sent, revealing intent, insecurity, obsession. Slowly, painfully, the narrative shifted. The room changed. Eyes dropped. Murmurs replaced certainty. Lydia faltered for the first time. Her calm fractured. Her concern slipped. And in that moment, the town saw it clearly. This had never been about protection. It had never been about morality. It had been about envy. The truth unfolded publicly, the same way the lie had. Amara's name was cleared with words that sounded hollow in the air. Apologies followed, awkward and insufficient. People explained themselves, blamed misunderstanding, claimed they were misled. Justice arrived without celebration. Lydia was exposed, not as a villain from a story, but as something more uncomfortable, a familiar person capable of cruelty. She was not destroyed, she was simply seen, and that, perhaps, was punishment enough. Amara listened quietly. She accepted no apologies. She offered no forgiveness, not out of bitterness, but out of self-preservation. Some wounds do not heal with words. When it was over, she stood, thanked no one, and walked away. She left town weeks later. Not in shame, but in clarity. She understood now that staying would mean carrying scars where she should not have had any. She chose peace over vindication. Years passed. Some remembered her with regret. Some with guilt. Some with relief. The town returned to its routines, but something had shifted. A lesson lingered unspoken. Beauty had never been the crime. Silence had been. Jealousy had been. The ease with which people believed the worst had been. Amara built a life elsewhere, quieter, freer. She learned that dignity is sometimes walking away without explanation. That justice does not always restore what was lost, but it can reveal what truly matters. And those who once judged her were left with a question they could not escape. How many lives are broken not by wrongdoing, but by envy dressed as concern? Her only crime was beauty. Their crime was hating what they could not be. If this story moved you, if it made you think, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more powerful stories that expose the truths we often ignore.